This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Kayla, you can hear us?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, sounds good. We'll call the meeting to order then. Know this, but when we approve the agenda, once you get into the meeting, then something pops up. Does that mean we're not supposed to be able to talk about it?
I think so. I think we have to get it approved for the next meeting to put on that agenda.
That's what I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for voting stuff then, or for stuff like just discussion of the park stuff between members here?
I would say just for voting things, because
Yeah.
all of our stuff kind of always snowballs into something
Right.
else. So I would just
But
say
that's
it's for
okay.
voting
I think
purposes.
as long as it's under new business or whatever, you can discuss it, but you can't make a vote unless it's
On the agenda for next.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move.
You have to do a lot.
You're gonna have to second it, Kayla, if you so choose.
I second it.
Because I just want to clarify something. I cannot, because I'm not on the park board.
Correct, yep.
I didn't want everybody to think I was just sitting out because I felt like sitting out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just ignore you. We'll just ignore you.
The minutes from June 7th.
June 17th.
7th.
Do I have it wrong somewhere?
Oh, yeah, it says 6:17,
Where?
regular meeting minutes.
Is that?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong council packet. Sorry, Miranda. I'm sorry.
So it's labeled June 7th. Yep,
Yep.
it's good.
I'm looking at the wrong packet.
Motion? Kayla?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Carried. Approve accounts payable.
Did I forget it? Oh, there we go. Where is it? Everything printed double-sided, so it's on the back side.
Oh, got it, okay.
What's, Mike, are you there?
Mike Wilson.
Yep.
Honey Hole's clean out there.
He cleans campground bathrooms.
Oh,
Okay.
Hey, Mike, did you ever tell Donnie that he has a pool pass? Because I have him down, but I never communicated with him because I don't have his contact information. But we just had approved that at one of the meetings, and I just want to make sure that he's aware that he does have.
I have not talked to him about that.
Okay.
If he comes in, I'll let him know.
Okay.
For ship refund from there.
Was that from the pool?
Yeah.
I'll move to accept.
Have a motion to accept the accounts payable. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kayla. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, well, we'll go into unfinished business then. And the first item is lifeguard wages.
Okay, can I give you a little update on the pool? Before we start?
Yes.
Okay, so we have now finished 2.5 weeks in the pool. The first set of time lessons is fast. It's going very smoothly. I have a couple more guards than the last time we met. I think I have 2 more. which is awesome. Great. So next week there's a day of pizza, and a lot of dance girls are lifeguards, and so it's really tight next week, but because of these extra people, we can kind of squeeze through. So very excited about that. I haven't had any issues that I've heard of. If anybody's heard of anything, please just let me know. Oh. But if anybody has any issues that they've heard of, please just share it with me so then I can address it. But I think that it's going super well. So excited about that. As you can see in the memo here, so there was a guard that said, hey, I'd really love to come be a lifeguard. It's one of the current guard's friends. And from knowing her from school and various other activities that I've seen her in or been a part of, I don't know her, but I knew of her. And she's awesome and super responsible and would be a benefit to the staff. She came and had applied and had done all her stuff, and I hadn't given her any wages or anything because I didn't know exactly where we would start at. So that she had came in and talked to Miranda and Kim and was unaware that the starting rate was $10.25, I believe. I think that's what it was. I have it somewhere. But it is, anyway, it's $10.25. And so being that she was coming from a position working somewhere else, she was under the impression that we would pay $12.50, I think was the small business wage in the other city that she was working in. And so she was under the wrong impression that that was a statewide thing and rather just a city thing. But then that kind of started the discussion as to, is starting out somebody who's 20 years old and going to be very responsible at $10.25, is that appropriate and or fair, I guess, in a way? And is that going to ever lead us to find guards that want to work at the pool, to continue to work at the pool and to put their time and energy into it? And so we kind of had a discussion about that, about, changing. And then we looked at like guards who work there for, say, we have a couple that are 4 or 5 years. And even after 4 or 5 years, they're making like $11.50, I think, which I understand that they're not going to make a ton of money at the pool. I understand that. However, I do think that it is something that, I put that in the memo, I think that it's only fair that we pay them a wage that's a reflection of the responsibilities of the job. I think that, it's not making pizzas, it's not passing out papers. They're in charge of other people's children's lives at that point. And yes, granted, are they jumping in and saving somebody all the time? No, but they're there in case that's something that would be needed. And so I think that it's fair, and it's not a regular high school job where you have to go complete training. They have to pay for training out of pocket right away, and we do reimburse it. But they have to take the time to go to a week-long training right away, and then a half a week, every other year, if not more than that for WSI. And so there's more responsibilities behind it, I think, than, just walking in the door somewhere that hires and pays more. When Miranda had looked around, we really are close to and kind of right in the middle of what all of the pay rates are in the area. That's interesting that they gave you the names of the kids and their wages for other pools.
Yeah.
So we are anywhere right in the middle of, where we're at here. I do think that because there is a shortage of lifeguards, I'm telling you, I've worked so hard to get as many lifeguards as I can this year. And I still have lost a bunch because they can make more somewhere else. Or a lot of the guards that I do have split time between here and other pools. And so, having or the ability to entice them to want to work here and to put their effort and energy into their hours here and not necessarily somewhere else, I think is important. And so we had just made the discussion about, potentially raising their wage starting and kind of across the board, and not anything crazy, and especially the consideration that it's 3 months out of the year and not, a whole entire year that you're looking at. So I guess I would just look for input and discussion on that, but just think that, they are valuable. And if we don't have them, we can't do lessons. We can't do any of those things. So
How many lifeguards you got that got multiple years in with us?
So I think I have, I have 5 that have never worked here before. And the rest of them have all worked 3+. Because this is their 3+ years.
3+ years?
Yeah.
And what about so they're at that
Is ours on here? Is our wages on here? Let me find our wages.
Isn't this ours? Well, this is what we just approved. That's in here from the last.
Yeah, the new approval is in there from last.
Last meeting. No,
These are all of the surrounding cities.
But in
our minutes here.
Oh, yeah, in the minute.
In the minutes.
Yep, yep.
Right.
our year 3, they're
1125.
Yeah, it's right by the swimsuits.
If they do WSI, if they
Yeah.
don't teach lessons, then they're 1075.
Yep, and so, I mean, and we don't really, and in all honesty, you don't really retain many people past year 4 or year 5 because they're well into college and I mean, you can only work 2 years in high school. So when you get to year 4, year 5, they're into internships and all that kind of stuff for, what they're doing, or they've moved on to the workforce,
Well, it is plastered all over the news that there's a big shortage of lifeguards and stuff. So we do have to stay competitive. If not,
And I,
So if she's 20 years old, she'd be at about a year 3, is that right? Because.
But we can't consider that because she hasn't put that time in. So right now, she technically starts at 1025. Because it's wherever you start. If you start over 18, it doesn't matter if you're 30 or if you're 20, it's your first year working.
And she wants consideration.
She decided to take the position anyway, because we had a discussion about the fact that we were going to bring this as a discussion, not that there was any, anything beyond that, but that I understand where she's coming from, that we'd really like to have her, and we understand the, the value that she brings to, responsibility and all of that. But yeah, so she did decide to take the position, but it kind of got me thinking more and more like, they can go to Casey's and make $12.50 an hour, to start out. So, and that's, I mean, they're never gonna hit that here.
and I don't know
the
what,
way it looks, they're not going to hit it anywhere around here though.
well, right, if you want to be a lifeguard.
If you want to be a lifeguard.
Yeah.
But any,
But if
like
we
you
wanted
could
to
go
run
get a,
away from Casey's or
yeah, if we
whatever,
wanted,
we'd have to.
Another thing too, and I'm not sure what budget it comes out of or how it works, but if you come work part-time, like if you're summer help for the streets department, you get $15 an hour. But I don't think they get raises. It's just, like, we've had the same guys for 3, and it's just a flat 15.
So that's not, they don't necessarily start there, but that's the ending wage that they end up with. They can't go any higher than that.
Gotcha.
We can start them lower, but for us, the same thing. We want to retain people. So we know the 2 guys that we've hired, and I mean, they're pretty good. So we just start them at 15, but they don't go any higher.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that that's a
wouldn't
dollar
even-
amount you should consider. I just
No.
thought that I would throw that into the mix.
yeah, no,
And
me
I
either.
think
And I don't think
enticing the older generation is something, worth something, some kind of weight, I think. so.
And, I said too, that, I really have no intention of not being the pool manager for the years to come. And I think that it's important to build something that the guards want to put their time and effort into because they feel that they're getting the same in return. They're gonna get that respect and time from me every single time. And I feel like they should feel that on the backside of that too, that they're, that we value the time and effort and energy that they put in as well. And I'm not saying, I understand that it's a high school / early college job, but I just also want to be able to staff it.
Was she like a teacher or something, or does she, I'm just gonna think,
Actually-
are we gonna lose her early too, or?
She's in pre-pharmacy school she was as of right now, so I
She'll
don't
go
know.
back to college.
Well, for during the year, but then I don't know what her plans are following. I think she was working at a pharmacy in the cities and then decided to not do that. It's not so much necessarily about her anymore because her and I had a discussion and she decided to take the position regardless. But then it just kind of got me thinking more and more.
Yeah,
We
we
kinda
talked
with
to
Miranda,
Brian,
Cam
and we just
Brian.
thought it was a fair,
At least a
just a fair
consideration.
thing to bring forward.
Yep.
It doesn't have to go anywhere. We just thought it would be a good thinking point. I mean, we don't have to do any, like, if you,
Right now.
right, it's just something to
I guess the thought
consider
that
and think
comes-
about.
thought that comes to my mind is if you got a very responsible 3-year person that's doing 1075, you gotta look, not bump the,
So I guess my consideration or my proposal is not necessarily to raise the starting for her, but rather raise it slightly across the board so that they're all being paid slightly more. So it's not for me just about that one person because she's 20, I think she should start at the year one because I think that's only fair for the people who put in 3 years.
Multiple years.
But then when I was looking at it after the conversation with her, I'm like, holy smokes, you can be on a year 3 with 4, like you've gone through now at a year 3. Not only have you worked there 3 years, but you've gone through your initial training, which is a week long, you've gone through your recertification training, which is a half a week, and you've gone through your WSI and you're still making just over $11. Like, and I understand it's a high school job, but like I said, you know, say you get a job at various other places in the area, you can make over that your first year, you know, and we're talking 3 summers in.
And looking at it on paper, just compared to other cities, it doesn't seem like, it's like we're right on track with everybody else. But then once you start comparing it to other jobs,
Yeah, it's not
maybe
necessarily
with not
compared to other
necessarily
pools,
as much responsibility or a different kind of responsibility.
so it's just for me, I think, and then also, like I said, for retention of guards and for, you know, wanting to them to choose to give their priority in hours to us, you know, and then I'd rather have a smaller staff that we pay a little bit more that's gonna choose to put all their hours in here than to have 20 lifeguards who work 3 different places. And, you know, like, that's kind of my thought process behind it as well, so.
It might be nice to firm this up by the end of the summer though, so that you could have a discussion with them at the end of the year and say, we really want you to consider coming back and this is what the pay is going to be next year. So maybe they can have some time to mull it over and know what they're going to make.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, I couldn't, when I was working with all of them at the beginning of the year, we hadn't approved anything, so I didn't
Yep.
post anything. I didn't want to get in the middle of it because I also don't have any ability to do anything money-wise, you know? So I wanted to make sure that it was what it was, and so then that was obviously approved at the last meeting, but then in consideration of just after, I honestly hadn't considered it too much or thought about it because my brain was in 75 million different places, so, but then after having that discussion and saying, well, wait a minute, that would be a super responsible person who's ready to come in and give time and energy and effort to this. Is that really a fair wage consideration? So I don't know, like I said, it's not for me just about the one person, but about kind of across the board, you know, what's fair, what's
So
not.
if you look at these names of the ones that are over in Wanamingo, I know that some of them have driver's license. And if they were to hear that next summer we're going to be paying, it might be worth their while to drive.
And it's not that I want to be rude and take things from other people, but I just have to make sure that I can staff it as well. Like I'm saying that if one person doesn't show up for a shift next week, then I can't teach lessons that day. So it's just really tight. So
So do we want, I mean, are you thinking wait till next year or wait, or
I think we should plan and up and at the end of the season and letting them know.
We can't approve anything for 2022 until we're in 2022,
Oh,
I believe. I'll have to clarify that. I think that's how it goes with the budget year.
if we made a change this year, then it would carry over, correct?
Well, yeah, like if you, I mean, if you guys wanted to change it to the actual, whatever the real minimum wage is, 8 something or whatever, I mean, you could do that whenever you want to. It's not, nothing is set in stone. If you guys are all voting one way, then it, I mean, you can change it whenever you want.
Okay. So anyway, I just thought it was at least a good topic for discussion
but
and
if we can't do that till 2022, I mean, it's something we should look at like next month, bumping up, put some thought into it and.
What kind of numbers, talk to Kim?
Kim said you guys have a budget for it.
because that was kind of before I even brought it. Like I had just walked in and was talking to Miranda about it and I was like, well, is this even something that is a consideration or able to be a consideration? And Kim said, yeah. And she's not here, but she also said that she feels the same way and that she's felt that way for a while. So
Yes, she felt it would be appropriate. Yeah, she felt it would be appropriate if that's what you guys, it's not out of line.
No.
As far as budget or anything like that.
So now we just gotta decide.
I'd put it on your agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, I think when we had, hopefully we'll have more people here next month.
I'd like to see that, yeah.
Yep.
And then if it's something we want to bump up, we do it.
Well, and it'll go suiting for down the road with their new pool, so keeping the people around and keep them building and. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put that on the agenda
Yep.
for
Good, Kayla? Did you have anything to
Yes.
add?
The discussion?
No, I think you guys are pretty much got it covered. I just agree with it is a different type of responsibility. You know, I hate to compare it to prison, but because I was a prison guard. But it is very similar to being a prison guard and they don't get paid enough. So
You know, the best part about that is you can also compare it to working at a childcare center. So,
Yeah.
There you go.
All the way around, and it's a similar thing there. So I guess maybe that's a discussion. Maybe we find out what, like, the starting rate is at Cougar Care, you know, and go from there too, because I feel like that's also a similar responsibility, job.
Even though the pool is not a daycare.
well, that's what they tell you.
So this is just a general question. Is there a upper limit of the age that a lifeguard could be?
Well, I don't think, not that I'm aware of.
I don't think so.
We
Anybody
should
could.
market it to the younger retired people, that this would be a great way for you to be outside.
That's true. And teachers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and teachers. Very true.
I would be a lifeguard for the rest of my life if I could.
You can,
it is
come on in.
Okay, I haven't been certified in a really long time, but I'll jump right in.
I'm getting certified this winter, so if you want to join me.
Nice.
I'll consider it.
Okay.
Anything else on the pool? As long
I
as
see
we're
that
just-
the painting of the pool buildings, and I think that comes from Brian. Like he
Yes.
kind of brought it up to me. Is he's talking about considering painting the pool buildings and would like the park board's opinion on painting the outside of the building.
Just the outside.
Into it, is it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And Mike might have more
Yeah.
input
All
on
we're
it.
doing is buying time. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, Mike, what's
making it
your
look
thought?
nicer.
But they're using it the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of at a point too, like, I'd like, how
Yeah.
much it's gonna cost. I personally don't want to put any more
Fred's
money
done putting money into it.
into this whole thing out there.
But
Mike, are
it
you
still
there?
has to- It still has to look nice for the 2 to 4 years.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, well, I'm well aware.
Mike, do you have any input, Mike, on the
Making
painting?
stuff just look pretty for too long.
As far as, from what I understood to begin with was, we got that white chalky stuff on the outside of the pool. They said that's coming from the inside out. Brian was gonna check on that. He said the inside of the pool had to be painted before the outside did. That's what I was told a couple of years ago or whatever.
So the inside
The physical pool, not the inside of the pool house, correct, is what you're referring to?
The inside of the pool house, the painting on the inside has to be done before the outside can be painted.
Oh, okay. I don't know anything about paint, so.
Yeah, I mean, and once you start doing that, Mike, you're talking floor to ceiling pretty much, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a ton. It's not just
Yeah.
brightening it up and making it look pretty. I mean, there's a lot that's gonna have to go into it to even make it last over the year. A lot of moisture in that building.
I think,
I guess my opinion is the efforts are probably better put towards looking for a new pool.
Well, because
But,
my
I
only
don't know.
question is it a safety or a health hazard?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not having that painted,
Because I don't know what that white stuff is. Is that,
that's just I don't know, calcium buildup coming through. That's not a health hazard.
sure.
And we don't have exposed lead paint, right?
No lead paint out there.
Okay.
So purely a cosmetic.
Yeah, it's just a cosmetic thing.
Sure.
Things are peeling and scratching and the cracks and the whatnot. But I mean, yeah, you can only go so far. I'm kind of with Fred on this one, that with the throwing the money at it.
Well, I agree. I didn't.
I
I
didn't
know that
realize
would be
it was
nice to make it look nice for its last little bit of life here, but at
Yeah.
the same hand,
Well, absolutely. I didn't.
Realized it was an inside to outside thing. And it was just something that, you know, I've had a couple people bring it up to me, but then Brian had
Right.
brought it up to me, so I
And
just,
we're only open for another month.
Right.
this year, and then if we can, by all means, make there another one.
So I just had a comment from Troy, since he couldn't be here
Yep.
tonight, and I just thought that I would
Yep.
read it. We pretty much addressed it, but he just said his only comment is, so he said, why didn't we have the pool buildings painted before the pool opened? And then, which I feel like we maybe kind of touched on because it
Because it was a full.
Yep. And he said this topic has even been on the Facebook Town Talk. And he said many community members have been willing to donate their time to help paint. And he also said it's slightly embarrassing that we didn't make time to paint the buildings after not opening last season and being behind. with the-
Well, that's strictly, and again, that's strictly, yeah, it could have been brought up at a park board meeting, but that's strictly up to the park board. You guys, and if you want it painted, that's, yeah, we just put it on the agenda and paint it. I can get quotes for paint from Sherwin-Williams, but that's strictly park board decision, so. It's
I would-
gonna cost, it would cost some money to get that painted, there's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
And last year, everything was kind of in limbo with the pool.
Yep.
Because we were working with the
Well,
committee and.
we were already at that point of like, how much money do we want to stick into this? We're
Yes.
gonna spend $3 million on a pool, you know? It's-
And at the-
that point,
And at
it's
the
like
end of
8
the
million,
summer,
so-
the, what was gonna happen to the pool for this year was very unknown, because we didn't, I think the pool committee met through the fall, didn't they?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I think we don't throw money after that, but I also think this whole business with Facebook and people chatting on Facebook, I think now is the time that we probably as the pool board need to release a press statement. That this is what we've done with the pool, this is what we've spent on the pool, it's gonna buy us X amount of years, hopefully.
Yep.
And our end goal is to get a new pool, but to do that, we have to raise X amount of dollars, and we're trying to decide where the best place is for the monies that we have and are gonna raise to be funneled towards.
Yep.
So that the people of the community know,
Yep,
and they know that we acknowledge that it looks rough,
yep,
but to build a $3 million pool, we have to make good decisions with our money.
right, because this is
Right.
your guys' money and their money. 'Cause you guys live here, they live, like, this is everybody's hard-earned money that they're putting towards things, so, yeah, we
I
want
would-
to make a good decision.
I would just bring up one more point about the buildings themselves. I understand making everything look nice, but we have a bathroom inside that's still not operational either. I mean, if we're gonna spend money, I'd rather see us get sewer lines fixed in the bathroom, so I mean, to me, that's a little bit of an embarrassment when we have bathrooms backing up during lessons and have to go in and squeegee the floors out for the sewer, you know? We got, I think, bigger problems with that bathhouse than paint, but that's my opinion too, you know?
Appreciate that, Mike, because you know what's going on there. Even with this paint, when we painted the pool, you know, the guy that sandblasted it was not, you know, it was crumbling and stuff. And that's what's happened to the block in this building too, it's crumbling. I mean, as we put paint on there, I guarantee it's gonna be peeling next year again.
Yeah.
So it just never, and I just love what you had brought up to, yes, it's time to say, this is why, you know, try to avoid some of this Facebook stuff
Yep.
to say, this is what the park board is doing.
Yep.
That's why it's gonna look a little rough the next 2 years.
Yep.
And
And you're never gonna please everyone.
Nope.
But that certainly would answer a lot of questions that I think a lot of people have.
yeah. And I think transparency is the biggest piece. So I think,
Yep.
you know, if people just say, not that you ever owe anybody an explanation, but if you're just saying, hey, this is what we're doing and this is why. We're
Yep.
trying to, you know, save money and put it towards other things. I think that if people are gonna be rude and crabby about that, then let them, because they're gonna find something else to be rude and crabby about. So,
I think you guys went above and beyond this year. I'm sure that bill from Thatcher is gonna, the way I understand, is gonna come in a little over 100,000. I mean, and I hate to tell you, but with that, even that painting that pool again, cleaning those the main pump baskets, I mean, that paint and cement is already coming through our baskets. I almost cringe to think what that's gonna look like next year after we get it drained down again, but you guys spent a lot of money on that pool this year and, you know, we got, for me anyway, inside the mechanic room, we got accomplished what I needed accomplished. I'm just a little afraid of that, like Fred said, painting the outside. I mean, them buildings are crumbling now too. There's cement coming out of the joints in there. We got holes in the foundation. So yeah, it's just a little throwing money at it and then having to paint it again the next year. It's going to look worse putting another coat of paint on. So.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's the best. Is to
We're
not-
just gonna keep repainting over something that's already broken. It's not gonna fix it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if that's the only thing that's a little unappealing to people, like, you know, we're trying to build a brand new pool in what, 2 to 4 years or whatever. I think they should be okay with handling just a little bit of cosmetic damage until we can get that figured out. I
it's
don't
not
see what the problem is.
It doesn't look gross, it just looks,
It just looks old.
yeah.
And it is.
I mean, if it looked gross, that would be one thing, but it, you know, it doesn't look unclean.
I agree.
Overflowing concerns me though.
Yeah, but it's cut off.
Mhm.
This has been an ongoing issue for years. And,
Great things for when people come to us and say, why do we need a new pool? You know, when we start having the
one more thing on the list. Yeah.
meetings for the town or whatever, it's like,
I agree.
okay, so do we,
I'm not gonna do it. I won't do the press release because I'm no good with words.
well, you sure did a nice job talking there. I think you do a
Maybe
great job.
someone should.
I think I'll probably,
You want to just
Have-
release something from the city?
I was gonna say, I'll probably have Brian
Perfect.
type something up when he
Yep.
gets back, just because he was, I mean, and him and Mike can work together too.
We
Yep.
don't want to put any numbers ahead
No.
because we don't have any numbers, we don't have anything like that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably time that, you know, they hear something's in the process.
Yep, he
You
can
know,
summarize kind of what
Yeah, we don't
Brad
even have that
Thatcher
committee
said.
together yet, so we can't
Yep,
get too
And
crazy.
can we do the newspaper and Facebook somehow?
yep,
Perfect.
What if you decided
To when we make a decision about how to reconvene or to add people to the pool committee, what if we tie that into it and say, this is kind of
absolutely.
the things that we've done and this is what we're looking for in the future. We need people to help with that, you know?
Did you see that?
You could go that right in there and get this committee going again.
Yep, I did see that.
Yeah,
And that kind of brings us into the pool.
Yep, that's a good
committee, so
segue into that.
We kind of covered that all. The only thing that's a good idea, I think that's a great idea, put that right in there. We are looking for a certain number of, you can find out from,
Members to be involved as a pool committee and the fundraising committee for the new pool.
well, and I did have somebody inquire about the pool committee, but unfortunately she lives in the township, so she does not qualify for it. Because she had, you know, had some things that she wanted to mention and then said, hey, are you looking?
they have to be.
Yes, because it's not their money. It's the township money is
I mean,
not.
I look at when we start fundraising, it'd sure be nice to pull some township money in and stuff. so
I know,
if we
and
have-
I guess I don't know if there's rules behind that. Because I know like our library board, but it can be from outside, but,
Well, maybe she can be a silent member and then she can take care of the fundraising in the townships.
so that would be something we could definitely bring up too, to look into it. 'cause-
Yeah, I think, you know, if there's a way that we can sneak in to allow someone, I think that'd be
Yeah.
pretty cool to, like you said, to pull in other people from.
Yeah,
Mike, were you in contact with Burbach at all? On what our next?
No,
I think we were waiting to hear who was left from the committee.
actually to touch on that, I accidentally included Burbach in my committee email, which ended up working out okay.
Yep.
Because they said, let us know when you're ready, we can meet whenever.
Okay.
So it accidentally turned into a okay
How
thing.
many did we have on the pool committee last time?
We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I have 2 that will return and 3 that I have not heard back from them, but I've sent out a second message to them.
Okay.
But we'll shoot for 9 again.
I think
I think
he
that
said like 20. When we had talked to Burbach the last time, he said that we're gonna be looking for like a group of 20 for the fundraiser.
That'd be for the fundraising efforts. That number will grow.
Just for the new
Just for the
pool committee.
committee,
Okay.
I think this was the number they said was good for the
Okay.
committee.
Copy that.
Okay, yeah, I know what he said.
So unfortunately, we're kind of starting over as far as
The committee.
people
Well,
go.
yeah, and then,
And that's to be expected. I mean, that went a long ways and
And
there
what-
was a big lull and then
Yep,
what's
A
gonna
lot of
have to
people's
happen
schedules
though,
have
when
changed.
this new committee comes in,
you're gonna have to give them direction.
we're gonna have to give them directions right off the bat, like
Yes.
this one did, and they ran with
yep,
the
All over
bells
the
and
board.
whistles. And to save time, we're just gonna have to be right up front with this new committee and say, this is what we're looking for.
and I'm gonna be very transparent with you guys. Most of the people that said no, it was because of the way that the direction was given or not given in the last committee. A couple of them had schedule issues, but that was pretty much the consensus across the board was they felt like they weren't given very good direction. And then when things were brought forth, it was no.
Yep.
They just thought more clear guidelines for the new group in the
And I
future.
can understand that, we just kind of,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I can understand that's where their frustration was.
Yes.
'Cause
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but now I think we're pretty prepared of going through that of what
Yep.
we're looking at, so
Yep.
we'll, as a committee, actually write something down too for them and say, this is what the park board's looking
We
for.
can say, we want a splash pad and we want a pool, you know, whatever. it
Zero
is we
entry
want,
pool, we want-
Yeah. And we want the budget to be this.
Right, because you guys are in charge of the money for it, and, in the end, this is your guys' decision with the council. So yeah, you guys can
Right.
say, this is what we want, design something within these parameters, within this, and they
You
can
guys
just run
have to
from that.
approve it before it comes to the council.
And I mean, I learned a lot with that because, I mean, Burbach was kind of coming in and says, well, we look at your 30-year growth and that's
Yeah.
what you should build. And
That's what you should build.
mammoth pool. Well, and my thought is like, we're at 3,200 people now, we've doubled in size in the last, and I drive by the pool quite often and there's a lot of room in that pool. Yeah, I mean, so we don't need nothing huge, a little bit bigger than this, but functional. So we know the direction now.
Maintainable, you don't want it to be something that becomes, okay, well, it's great to have a brand new pool like this, but then
Right.
you're gonna be 25, 30 years into it at some point, and then you're gonna have to maintain that pool too, so,
Yep.
the consideration of that piece as well.
Very good.
So you'll handle all that and the
Yeah, I'll talk,
committee and all that?
yeah, I'll talk,
I
yeah.
think once you get that ad out, we can try to get some more bodies in there.
Yep, so you want me to start recruiting for the applications?
Yep.
You got it.
I just,
As like, just because we're talking about it, when you're talking about like this, the pieces that you want in a pool, I would say another thing to consider that you do want is like the ability to have a piece of the pool where you can swim laps or like swim a specific distance, because that's like a requirement in a lot of training classes, and or if people are wanting to swim laps, that kind of thing is like, if, I want to get all my certifications so I can teach the classes here. But you have to be able to like swim, say 100 yards. Okay, so down and back at this length, where if you are only a zero entry and there's no back and forth. So just as the designs come through, that's just something to keep in mind, is that would be really nice to.
And I think the general consensus of those zero entries and whatever, they all let it down to like a diving board area
Yep.
with the lap lanes in there.
Yep.
But yeah, we had just given them a wide spectrum.
Yep.
You know. And
You don't have a lot of stuff going on, but you could probably be on that.
Well, I think she will be, no matter what. Because we'll need another person from the park board here to
Yep.
resume and then.
So, but I'm just saying that wouldn't be part of that. I mean, your input would be
Yep, it will be heard during the
your,
committee.
can we get a double wide room? Yeah, I'm working on getting
At this year still. Yep, I taught those in college in the mornings at 5:15. I hiked all the way across South Dakota's campus and then negative 25-degree weather.
Yeah.
Just to get in the pool. 5 a.m. Oh.
Okay, any other comments or questions on
Okay, we're going to business then. Park signage request, public comment.
Did I not put it in here?
Yeah.
Oh, it's in the very back, okay. This double-sided pages is really messing with me.
Is there parks? At other parks?
I think they do around the children's area.
Right, but I mean, the whole, I mean.
No, I don't think the whole park is
park
considered
is kinda tough to
non-smoking.
do,
I think
isn't
it just depends what your ordinance says.
Yeah.
I don't think it's law.
I don't think it's law either. But I have seen it in multiple parks where kids play, like around the playgrounds and basketball courts and stuff like that.
And I didn't think that oh, what is that? The softball fields, there should be no smoking there because that's families and children.
Yeah. Yeah, you go out in the parking lot. You don't need to be right next to the field.
Yeah, I don't know if we have
There
any
should be smoking.
no smoking on city property. I don't know if we have a,
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it an ordinance?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Any comments on that? No smoking?
What's the question?
Well, with this person that sent this concern about smoking around the playgrounds and where the kids are and stuff, and what's your thought on that?
Well, I just can't imagine it's even done nowadays, I guess, but if we have to post signs, we'll have to post signs, I suppose, huh? I just can't imagine that even, that you guys can't just make a motion on posting signs for that. If that's what you choose, I mean, there shouldn't be any smoking period around the camp or the parks, I guess, as far as I can tell.
Find the ordinances online, try to look it up.
For the whole park, you mean, Mike?
Well, yeah, you'll never stop that, I guess, but at least around the playgrounds and stuff, right?
I would say around the kid-based activities,
Yeah.
the skate park,
Yeah.
the basketball
Because the
courts,
campgrounds.
the hockey rink. I know that was something that was discussed down at the hockey rink too this winter.
Yeah,
Because there was kids vaping and stuff and they're like,
Yeah.
we need to put a stop to that. So I wouldn't be against that either. Because I mean, I went down there and talked to a couple of the older kids and I'm like, you guys can't be doing that down here. You know, I got
Yeah.
parents complaining.
Yeah.
So,
And they would want to be down there once that cement gets where there's gonna be basketball court, shuffle.
Oh, yeah, so it's
So we're
gonna
gonna
get
want it down there
busier,
year round.
busier,
anyway.
The sign should say smoking and vaping because they'll tell you that vaping isn't smoking. That's the first thing they'll say. You say no smoking one, not smoking.
Right. You'll have to post that both ways, I imagine.
yeah. Yeah, I think anything kid oriented based definitely should be posted. But yeah, you're never gonna stop them walking on the trail and whatever.
This is kind of the first time we've gotten anything on this, haven't we?
I just want to say that I appreciate the way this person approached it because they said, what can I do to help at the end?
He actually
called me and talked to me first and I said, well, can you put that in writing for me so I have something to show to you guys? So he knew this was coming directly to you guys.
So that's something we should post at all the out playgrounds, East Park, and probably your basketball court. And then once we get that cement poured and the shelter too, I imagine we should post something at the shelter so there's no smoking up there, correct?
Yeah.
You're
So-
talking about the subdivision little parks too then, right, Mike?
Yeah, I think we should put a sign up there too.
Yep.
So family recreation
Yeah.
areas.
Yep.
So how many people would that be then?
Well, there's 3,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, my kids came to me, Mike, you're probably gonna have to put up a couple.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to put a couple at the King's Kingdom. And probably East Park too, one on each side, street entrance and the park entrance side on the path. I don't know,
Well, Mike will have to get whatever he
Yeah.
needs for it.
you wanna go take a look, Mike, and get kind of a count of what you think you'll need?
Yep, I can do that.
And just order them.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to approve a dollar amount of some sort. Or do you wanna just have Mike get a sign and find out how many he needs, and then we'll find a sign that works, and then you guys can approve that at the next meeting?
I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
You hear that, Mike?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, it says, if anybody is interested in what it says in the ordinance.
Yes.
So this is under the prohibition piece. And it says smoking and sampling is B, and then 1 says, except for exceptions listed in whatever, smoking generally shall be prohibited and no person shall smoke in public places and places of work, including outdoor and bar areas of restaurants, other than provided for in different subdivision tobacco sampling, including sampling of electronic delivery devices and products, is specifically prohibited in the city.
And I don't know if you care, but I found the statute from state law. And it says that, let's see, protect employees and the general public from the hazards of secondhand smoke and involuntary exposure to aerosol or vapor from electronic delivery devices by eliminating smoking in public places, places of employment, public transportation, and at public meetings.
But this is listed under the Zumbrota business regulations, so I don't know if that pertains, but it says public places.
Right. And I think that's all fine. I think you'd have to get the police to enforce it anyway, but I think to post the signs there, I don't think that's gonna hurt you, I guess.
Maybe I'll chat with Chief and see what he says or whatever too. Because he's gonna be the one that's gonna have to deal with it.
Mhm.
Once they're posted, then they have all rights to call,
So talk with them or?
Yeah, I'll talk with the chief. I'll chat with him.
Okay, we're good with that then? All right. Zumbro River Parks and Trails Group.
So Dylan, our EDA director, was approached by the mayor of Orinoco. Trying to find my page here, sorry. So there's a group that's been put together, Zumbro River Parks and Trails Group. And they're looking for the cities that are along the Zumbro River, they're looking for representatives for this group. So it's to help, Dylan kind of explained it as it's to help promote activities for like to try to get a boat launch or make the river more accessible to people.
Okay.
Wasn't super detailed. I didn't have a ton to go off of because I was receiving it secondhand. But the email that I included in here is what Dylan received from them. So that was, and he wasn't super involved in it either because he was just the go-between.
Yeah.
We don't have to have a representative. They just thought usually it's somebody from a park board.
This is non-for, they're just organizing this group.
That I don't know. I don't know how long it's been.
That was probably 4 years ago that the mayor of Orinoco came to a city council meeting, and the city of Zumbrota then, I think they were requesting a $300 donation to kind of start organizing back then, and I haven't heard much. I haven't seen that email, so I haven't heard much about that since back then. they gave them $300 back then. My personal opinion is I think we can promote our own area up here just as well, but what they end up doing is they got quite a few communities, and I think they, try to solicit more funding for it and probably in advertising and stuff. So I think we should get a little more information on that again and see what's going on there.
Yeah, if I know some more details.
Sure,
If we want to commit somebody to that committee
sure.
or just boost our own.
Yeah,
It looks like they do have a website.
Stuff is doing their own improvement along that old river right now too, on their own. And they've done a lot of stuff on there. So. Okay, so we're gonna get more info on that?
Yep.
Religious gathering in Covered Bridge Park. This is information, he's not, we don't have to approve this or anything, or?
I think you do, just because it was gonna be,
Music and.
he thought it was gonna, he's hoping for, I think he said 100 to 200 people.
100 to 200. Music, and they're gonna be done and wrapped up by 10 o'clock. So,
Yeah. And it sounds like in Brian's email, because he also spoke with this guy, he spoke with him in more detail than I did. It sounds like he's held similar events at the VFW.
I went down to his meetings down there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's gonna be similar to or identical to what he did there. But it sounds,
Like a revival type thing?
Yeah,
I
well,
didn't go down there.
it's kind of like churches used to do tent meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if those are considered revivals or not, but yeah, just,
yeah, it sounded like they were gonna be done before the ordinance quiet time.
at 10
Now,
o'clock.
for their
Yeah.
music and stuff, are they planning on bringing any trailers down there or setting up a tent? or-
He said there's gonna be a tent, and
Okay.
he did say there's gonna be speakers.
So if-
Like
if
not-
it- If it's like he had a VFW, he had 2 speakers by him and a microphone.
Yep. Yep.
It's not like,
So then do they have a fee for using?
Not for the public park area, there isn't. It's just pretty much just to make sure that you guys are aware of it and okay with that large of a,
So if he's expecting 200 people, would he have to bring in his own toilets though, because what we have?
Yep.
in-
Yep.
Right?
yeah, he's planning on providing everything.
When was, because it said the 26th and 7th, or what did that? say?
23rd, 24th, 25th,
Okay, and when was that one?
the
lady-
next weekend.
The lady was doing it the next week.
Yeah,
I'm
hers-
just making
hers-
sure
yep,
they're not
yep.
on the
Hers is the
same
31st.
weekend. Okay. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
is she bringing in toilets?
I thought she said she was.
We should clarify that with her, make sure she's got toilets coming.
I thought she said she was, and because when you guys were talking
Because
about
we
the
gave her a
amount of,
number, because Affordable Portables was here at the time,
yes,
and we gave her the Affordable Portable number.
yes, that's
to
right.
call Because they were at DFA, and they said they might cut you a deal.
That's
because they
right.
have
She saw, I think she saw the one that we had down in the
Yep.
Memorial
ice
Day
rink or
field.
whatever.
Yep.
So what do we have to do on that? We have to,
I don't know. I don't know because that part is the public park, but I think just to acknowledge that it's there, you might as well just vote and approve it
Yep,
or disapprove it, whatever you choose.
We've used the park before for religious, United Redeemer used to hold their church services down there. So. I guess. And we're okay with 200 people coming, parking.
yep, because I know during the festival, parking is always okay. Parking's always there's always plenty of parking.
Okay.
So it's definitely doable.
Yeah, because we get a lot of people.
Yeah,
Festivals.
yeah. So I think space wise, it would be appropriate.
Okay.
And did I specify, he wants to use the grassy area on this side of the park road, our side of the park road. Yes,
Yeah.
so not where the ice rink is.
Yep.
So they'll be, you know, out of the way of most activities.
Everything else.
There won't be people camping overnight in the tent. will there?
No, no.
And just so that he knows that if there's a flood, we're not responsible for his tent or equipment or
Yep.
whatever he has.
And I'll also make him aware that we don't provide like security or overnight watches or anything like that. I mean, obviously the police will patrol the area, but they're not going to specifically watch that area. Yeah. And I don't know what kind of equipment he has, if it's, you know, if he's just going to pack it in his vehicle.
He's just got 2 speakers and a microphone.
He'll
You can
probably
throw
just
that in the back
pack it
maybe
away,
drive
yeah.
Drive away.
And he's good. I don't know if you know Jim.
Something to cheer for. Everybody loves a good.
And I don't know if this is, I don't know if you know Jeff Bramer. He's good friends with this gentleman and will probably be working alongside of him and stuff.
Yep, I think Jeff is actually the one that told him to contact us.
Perfect.
So I'll move that we welcome him into the park. But that's all.
Kayla, your feelings?
I'm all right with it. If everybody else is, I'm pretty chillaxed.
So I have a motion, is that a motion and a motion and a second to welcome, I'm not gonna say his name because I can't, to the park. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Carried.
Got a movement and a motion.
I move it.
They are posted publicly.
But it's recorded for the world to hear.
You're welcome.
If it is, you probably won't approve the minutes next week. Okay, and
What's the September meeting date change?
Oh, yes. Oh, I
Where's
didn't
that?
print out the most, in my packet that I included in it, it's not the most up-to-date agenda. Yes,
Labor
I
Day
was
must be,
looking ahead because the date falls on Labor Day.
Yeah.
So I was looking ahead, so we didn't have to scramble like we did for this one.
so we want to do Tuesday again or the following,
Typically, we've done it
the Tuesday,
the next Monday.
the next Monday, right? That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah,
That work for,
So,
That would be the 13th then?
yes. I just know that July is kind of difficult because a lot of people have vacations, so I wanted to give options for that. So yes, it would be Monday, the 13th of September.
Do we have to have we just have to set it, right? We don't have to move on that, right?
We can just set it, but
you have to put it in the,
yeah, I'll have to put it in paper.
depending on what we're doing, I might not be able to make that. I'm fired. on the 13th. You know.
yeah, I was gonna let you guys know too. I just took a new position, so my hours may be changing too. I'm really banking on still being able to do this. I know I'll be there next month for sure, because my hours won't change until September. But I'll try and give you a heads up as soon as I can. I might be working like this shift, depending on what's available. I'm going back to the prison, so it'll be a little bit of a change.
Yeah.
To
You're going to
You're going
prison?
back to prison.
I am. I'm going back. I was already there once and I liked it so much I got to go back.
Congratulations on the new position.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I was a guard over at Oak Park Heights for a little bit, but now I'm going to Faribault. So it won't be nearly as bad, but it's just a matter of depending on what shift they have available for me and what the hours are going to be, but we'll see. I'll keep you posted.
Sounds good.
to Randy Kraus today. It sounds like maybe next week he was gonna pour the cement for the basketball courts and the shuffleboard and the I've had quite a few of the
Pickleball.
pickleball people.
Quarter yet?
When's this coming? I said, yeah, I'm waiting on Randy.
Yeah.
They're fanatics, those pickleball folks, because I have two cousins up in Minneapolis and they heard that we were gonna have a pickleball court down here and it's like, when, we're coming.
That's awesome.
That's it.
More people in the park. People come.
That's right.
Want to look at it, because they originally were gonna just bring their nets and set them up, but if we're gonna do pickleball courts, maybe have to look at
Yeah, and-
putting some permanent nets in there.
Well, they're pretty
For the-
inexpensive.
Right.
They're not
We would-
outrageous.
We would drill them in later and anything anyway, but that's just something for thought. I mean, all it would be is the nets, because they'll have their own
Yeah,
paddle.
they bring their own stuff, but Shield sells them, and I can't remember what they were, but I saw them there, and I was like, oh, that's not bad. They're cheaper than volleyball nets, so.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind, we're probably gonna want to do that. So anyway, yeah, so anything else? Entertain a motion to, whoop.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna bring up, I don't know if anybody's made it out to the skate park lately, but in the last couple of weeks, I've had over 3 people ask me just different things on the skate park. There's the metal plates that are on the bottom that they roll up. There's a couple of them where the screws are all popped and those are pretty movable. And then some of that, I don't know if that's MDF board or what kind of hardboard that is on there, but it's blistering pretty bad. So maybe, I mean, definitely not this year, but maybe that's something you guys want to look at for the future. Just taking a look and doing some things at that skate park and keeping it, nice. And there's, I don't know, I know a while back, somebody posted something about somebody taking a hammer or something to the concrete out there. But there's divots and dimples and stuff that could be patched, just a simple concrete patch to give them a smooth surface to ride on again. And I just think as a park board, you guys might want to take a look at some of that out there.
So Mike, the maintenance on that then, is that,
Yeah, I don't know.
that something you guys would do, or do we have to find somebody to do that?
Well, I think I should probably talk to Jim and find out. I think he had most of the information on that Jim Para, didn't he? He put that all together. I can talk to him and find out where I can get materials and stuff from. We'll probably do the maintenance on it.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of board that is, Mike. It's like that press board, almost like a sheet of that decking stuff for like
Yeah.
doing on a deck. I don't know. I don't know what kind that is, but
Where we
I
got,
think-
yeah.
and it's probably been there a while, and nothing probably much has been done to it, so.
Yeah, but maybe like the outside pressure washed and stained or something. I don't think you can do anything with the skatable deck, but just prettying her up a little bit and
Yep.
making it a little nicer for the kids. It does get used.
Every time I drive by the
People out there. It's busy all the time.
Just the process too, the fields out there are really getting used a lot.
Yeah.
And Troy isn't here, but he was kind of, before he was on the committee last year, we bought sand for him and they were taking care of that and stuff. So I would, and we were talking, he's got some money set aside for dugouts and everything there. But I would like to see Troy kind of get a wish list and that's getting used by the little leagues there. It'd be nice to put some, get that thing looking really nice too, and get the dugouts.
Really sharp.
So they're shade, they were talking about like roofs with just chain link around them, but somebody also said that it gets kind of warm, but then they were saying they could put curtains on, certain sides or whatever, if it's sunshine in there. But yeah, I just think it'd be kind of fun for Troy to kind of go what it would take to really get them.
They use all the time.
Every night they're busy.
Yep, they're-
Maybe the only night I don't
Have anybody written down as Friday nights or Fridays and Saturdays.
Which is crazy because.
Otherwise, there's like 3 or 4 teams every night using it.
Adult league.
Yes, Wednesdays. Yep.
And I was talking to Brian, or Mike, I was talking to Brian a little bit too about maybe just, I don't know if he talked to you about the thought process of maybe next year if the park board, we got a lot of stuff, there's gonna be
Yeah, a lot.
courts down here and stuff. And I don't know, I've always wanted, if we're gonna have a field like that and be used, I just, sometimes some people don't mind doing it, but to have the parents come home after work and have to hurry up and go get the field, drug and limed and it gets to be a lot. I think we're getting to a point that maybe we can partially help for a part-time guy that we have for the summer to take care of our parks. If he can take care of the bathrooms, he can take care of the softball fields when they have to be ready for working there, you know, and there's been times, or this year, they wanted it mowed certain days, and, you know, maybe that person can, you know, mow the fields, you know.
So do you think if we had that and they were ready to go on Friday and Saturday nights and the teams could just pull in and use it, would we fill up on Friday and Saturday nights?
It's tough to say because it died off so much in the last couple of years that the teams that, you know, the teams that used to be so hardcore have just dispersed. And it's not pushed as much at school as it was.
And our fields are mostly used for practices. The women's league is really the only team that uses it for games. So I'd say they avoid Friday and Saturday just because that's busy time for families. So I don't think there's really anything we could do to necessarily draw them into either of those days.
Well, what Troy said, though, if we get them up, because they're mainly used for Little League. And no men's group, no men's league anymore and all that.
Yep.
But he said if we got them to where, then they would feel comfortable hosting tournaments out here on Saturdays and stuff, bringing all these young families in town and stuff.
And that would take care of Saturday,
So,
Yeah.
for
Saturday,
Saturdays, Fridays and Saturdays.
yeah.
potentially, yeah.
So he had mentioned that last year. He said, well, you know, once if we get it to a point, we can start it. But right now, he says we're not in position to have tournaments and stuff, but
Yeah.
Well, that should be a goal, so that we could get them in here.
yeah, that's what, because man, there's a building with bathrooms, building and 4 concessions, and we probably have, Mike, to get that running for concessions again, I imagine we'd have to get it inspected and all that, or is there a lot of stuff that would have to be done?
So I don't think they ever had it set up for what I would call legal concessions, but I think they're allowed to bring in, kind of like the school, they can bring in stuff as long as it's labeled. They can make pizzas and.
Okay.
Nice.
Gotta be in its own individual wrapper style type.
Yep.
Mhm.
But I know.
But I think, back to your question, Fred, we've had discussions about that exact thing, about hiring a person for that, just because our parks have grown so much, even with the small parks. There's a lot of maintenance on that stuff, you know, every day to inspect it and make sure it's all right. So we've had that discussion a little bit internally.
Okay, good.
And that's a position, I mean, long-term, you could roll that into when the ice rink's out there, you could fold that person right over to watching that ice rink and keeping it. Yeah, because I mean, then, you know, we got permission from James for the hockey rink to purchase shovels, and they're gonna keep them at the library so the kids can rent them out to clear it. But we were afraid that if we bought, you know, $60 shovels, they'd just walk off.
Yep.
So, but if we had an attendant down there, then they could stay down there again, which also the boost that we could put stakes, donated stakes down there and skates. You know, that's totally different.
But man, when I go through that, every day of the week, there's a lot of people at this park. So the more and more we can update it and clean it, I mean, not clean it up, it's really cool, especially down the road if there's a pool, the campground gets to be upgraded.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike, I was gonna ask you that on the, what do you call it? On the campground, the grants?
March.
Yeah, but we can't wait till March. That's when they're due.
No.
Did we ever find somebody to work on them at all?
Yep, I'll have to circle back around with CETA. There's Abby from CETA who does the grant writing for that stuff, and I gave her a bunch of that information on that campground. So I want to talk to Brian again. You know, those grants are worth it, of course, and it's going to cost us some money, which is fine. I just need to circle around with Brian again, and then I think we'll have to bring it back to you for approval for that grant.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Mike. Mike, did you have anything that you need to add or anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, all right, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn. A motion to adjourn. Do I have a second, Kayla?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
You too.